I just sat here for like 10 minutes thinking that my glasses are crooked. So I guess that's how this video is gonna start. Hello everybody and welcome to the Boardgaymergirl channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie and I like to talk about all things board games, but from a primarily solo perspective. Today I am getting to my monthly recap where I go over the games that I've played in the previous month, so April, and I talk about my favorites, my disappointments, and my surprises for the month, as well as just my board game stats in general. But before we get into that, today's main topic for this video is my first year experience at Canada Plays. And Canada Plays is a trade show or industry show for board games. So you'll have retailers, distributors, publishers, but they've also luckily invited some Canadian content creators to go and participate in a lot of the events. If you want a similar framing, the States have a show called Gamma, and I'd say this is kind of the Canadian version of that. So, without further ado, I'll get into my experience of my first year at Canada Plays. So Canada Plays is an event that happens over 3 days, and this year it was held in Hamilton between April 27th to April 29th. But we got there, got settled, and then we went down to meet the other Canadian content creators that I either see regularly or don't see enough of, or just met for the first time. So I came into the hall and met Ilya, Tyler, Jenna, and Meeple Mike was there, and I think James from Little Meeples was there at that time too. Everyone was starting to slowly show up, so we started to play a few games and then headed to the evening cocktail kind of like welcome gathering where we got to share some foods and some cocktails that were fantastic. And part of it was to promote their newest game, Citadel's Duel, which I liked Citadel's. I know it's very take that if you're not familiar with it. It's a card game, but they are coming out with a dual version of the game. And basically after that, we just played games for the rest of the evening and planned out how we were going to wake up the next day. So then the next day we got up, got there for probably 7:30 for breakfast, but it was important that we get something down into our bellies because our schedule was a bit more packed in the morning as we attended the first Canadian content creator panel. Try saying that 5 times fast. But it was a really nice experience. We even got, ooh, where is it? We even got these nice little, I don't know what you call it. Look, it's my name. That's what it was. Anyways, we all got to sit around, and although like you do talk to other creators here and there, a lot of our work, I guess, is what you'd call it. It's a hobby as well, but it does take some time, and we usually all do this kind of in isolation and talking into a camera lens. I'm not actually talking to a person. And trying to do that and then share the little giggles that you get from trying to do content that way with other people in a room is just fun and nice. And then also just working off of each other if other people had questions and how best we can do things in the industry to either help each other out, help the Canadian industry out, and also, of course, what we're excited about and what may need improvement. But it was a fun panel. I think we went for about an hour, and Mandy and Rodney led that panel, and then we headed over to the embargo room. So if you don't know what an embargo room is, it's a room that shall remain silenced. It's a room where we get to see some upcoming games that we can't talk about yet. So while exciting, I have to pretty much skip past this and not tell you about what's coming. But there are some exciting things coming to the market over the next year. After that, the first day that the exhibition hall was open, so it is smaller than like say Gen Con or like your regular conventions, but for me it seemed a lot bigger for just a Canadian industry event. I was surprised by how large the hall was and how many different publishers actually showed up. So it is an Asmodee hosted event or sponsored event, but you do have a bunch of different smaller publishers under that umbrella that also show up. So let me go through a few of them. Plus, I did get a little goodie bag, and I'm not going to take up the entire video going through an entire goodie bag, so I'll just throw out some highlights that I've got here, and some of the notable games that I had, and some of these I got to play, some of these I only got to sneak a peek at or watch somebody else play, but I did get to play Circadia, which I got to play twice. I really like the art on it, and it's a neat little card game where you're trying to score points. I think you have 3 different types of animals, and there's like geese, there's bears with wings, and there's something else that I can't remember, but you'll be able to see. I think it's an axitoxical? I can't say that word, but anyways, there's 3 different types of animals trying to be in 3 different habitats. And what you're doing is you're trying to construct sets of these animals in the same color. And the first person that hits 15 points, everyone else gets 1 more turn, and the person with the most points wins. The tricky thing is that when you play cards down into your area, I think the cards go from 1 to 5. And if you play a 1 down, you can play as many 1s as you want, but you can only play 1 set of that card into 3 different columns that you have on your board in front of you. So for example, if I had a 1 of geese, a 1 of bear, and a 1 of the axitoxical, I can play all 3 in my area, but they all have to be in 3 different columns. As you have your 1s down, it also indicates how many cards you get to draw back into your hand. When you played a 1, even though there are 3 different 1s on the table, the value is 1, so you can only draw 1 card from the market into your hand. But as soon as you've got a certain amount or set, so let's say I have a column of geese with 3 1s and a 4, I can trade that in if in the area there's a goal card that asks for a set of 4 cards in the geese suit. So you discard your geese suit, you take that card, and that card might get you 2 points or something. And you'd continue to do this over and over until somebody gets to 15 points. So anyways, that was a longer overview of how that game plays, but I got to play it twice and I did enjoy it. I do think sometimes it goes a little bit long. So I think it goes from 2 to 5 players. And I'd suggest it at lower than 5, but I really did like it, and I really do like the art. So there are other games that I saw. There was Dnup, which for some reason I had a really hard time with the rules, even though it's an easy card game. It's got hints of Scout in the game, and then kind of like Fuji Flush mixed in as well, if you know of those 2 kinds of games. So it's like oh my God, what are they called? A ladder, a ladder, you get a shedding, ladder, whatever, trick-taking kind of weird thing. But in Dnup, there are like 4 different things that you can do. You can't flip your cards once you pick them up, is the thing that starts when you pick up your hand. And on your turn, you can either play a card down, beating the value before you. So if someone plays a single 8, you must play a single 9 if you want to follow that. Or you can play a double. So if they played a single 8, you could play 2 2s and you're still allowed to play that, because you can't play a number card that is the same of another number card that's already present on the table that's within a set. So if another set of 2 2s were on the table, I can't play that. If I played 2 1s and there was a 2 2 on the table, I can't play it because it's lower than that. So you still have to beat it. And then you can, for your turn, if you can't do anything, you can flip cards in your hand, or you can flip the card in front of you, I think. There's also ways that you can end up having to have your card put back into your hand, because the whole point of the game is to get rid of your cards the fastest compared to all of your opponents. And the person that gets out of the round first gets points, and the person that gets out of the round second gets points. And I believe there's 3 different rounds, and it's the person with the most points. No, that's not right. I can't remember the end game of it, but there is one winner and the game ends when you get to that point. This, for some reason, was so confusing for me, and I bet you I still don't get it, but it was fun and it caused a lot of laughs for just a card game with numbers. But they even have a theme song for this one that you can look up on, I think, Spotify, but I don't know if it's on other musical sites. But yeah, that's Dnup. Another booth, which I was excited to see, was the Fantasy Flight booth. So a little later this month, I'll be talking about LCGs, as that behind there that you see in every video, that is my LCG table. And I have tons of experience with LCGs, especially solo. And I wanted to see the new Arkham Horror LCG core box because they are completely restarting the whole story from what I understand. There's new investigators and 3 new scenarios in the new core set. So that was interesting to see and something I was excited about. But also they had Star Wars Unlimited cards and they had the Star Wars deck building game with a couple different sets that have been coming out for that deck building game. And I especially wanted to look at it because given my top 10 favorite fan-made solo modes that I shared a little while ago, I had probably the most amount of people tell me about either the Arc Nova Arno variant or the Star Wars deck building solo mode that was created by a fan. And I have now got myself a Star Wars deck building base box that I'm going to try out that solo mode for, and I'll get back to you. But it was really exciting looking at all that stuff. Plus the other day was Star Wars Day where I started my Star Wars shorts. So we shall see how that goes. But yeah, cards and deck building was one of my primary mechanics that got me into the hobby, as it's a great mechanic for solo play most of the time. But I digress. Let's get to what was that? What other ones did I see? So Pandasaurus, they had Shackleton base there, but they also had the expansion, which adds a bunch of new stuff, kind of helps out with stuff that was in the base game that maybe needed a little tweak. But I hadn't played Shackleton base solo. I did play it multiplayer once, and I really liked it. It felt like there were some similarities with SETI, which I think the designer is the same person who did SETI, or I might be getting that wrong, but how every game that you're playing, you have 3 different factions or companies that come out for Shackleton base that will give you different abilities or game mechanics or end game things that come up. But I think I played a 3 or 4 player game of that and it was really interesting and I have wanted to see it again. So being able to see the expansion coming out live and in person was interesting, but also I did like when they were mentioning that there was the Machi Koro Life edition. And I have played Machi Koro, I think the first one. And this new one, so the theme is more, how do you say, not all about capitalism, engine building game. Because in Machi Koro, the original, I think it's more like buildings and businesses and trying to make enough money. So the Machi Koro one is more about trying to get dreams and have a fulfilling life. So you'll gain hearts for different things and you'll be trying to build up hobbies and different, just more fun things. So it felt like Machi Koro Life. And at first when I saw the box, I was thinking life, like the game of life from some people's childhoods. And anyways, the box art I really liked and the theming just felt a lot better. That I'm curious to see when that comes out. But I do not believe a solo mode for that either. Shackleton base does have a solo mode though. Ooh, interesting one, but again, not a solo mode, was the Circle of Confrontation. What was it? The Circle of Conflict, Lord of the Rings game that's coming out. And it was a larger box than I expected in person actually, but it's a roll and write. And therefore I thought there would be a solo mode, but there isn't. As I believe the way that you play, you have a big board that comes out that's writable on, and you're simultaneously playing both the good and the evil side, and you'll be facing off against the people directly next to you around the table. So it's interesting the way that I heard it talked about. I didn't get in a game. I know some people were able to get in a game. It seems like it is longer and heavier a game than I expected as well, but I didn't even know it was a roll and write, to be honest. I saw it, I liked it, and then didn't see the solo mode, so it was like, If anyways, it's a roll and write that I end up thinking there would be someone out there that could probably make a solo mode. So who knows in time if something comes out that can make it playable solo. But Lord of the Rings anything I am excited about there. Oh, I will say I got a small box of Flip 7, and I bring this up because I also saw that there was a Hello Kitty Flip 7 version. So for those Flip 7 fanatics who also like Hello Kitty, there is that to look forward to. No solo mode. What else was there? There was First Giants, which I had wanted to play, but I was actually playing a different game on the other side of the table at that time, and different people on the other side were playing the First Giants game. I believe it's like a card drafting set collection kind of game, and the first time I saw it was PAX Unplugged. It's kind of like beige looking, but it's all about like dinosaurs, and I remember flipping through the appendix and it was really neat. So that in itself made me curious. What else was there? Oh, okay. So a game that I've been playing to most conventions or game days has been Phantom Inc. And the copy that I have is the Phantom Inc. Arcana, which was originally by Resonim Games, who I enjoy and liked to support. But it seems that All Play has picked up the title of Phantom Inc. and is going to be releasing it at some point or promoting it at some point. And it's their regular like square box, and it has all the same kind of components in the sense that you have cards where you have question cards, and then you have cards that you give to the ghosts that are going to be writing to the different teams to try to get them to say a particular word. But instead of big sheets of paper that the two ghosts from each team share, there is dry erase markers that each team gets to use. So you're using less paper, which is nice. And then there's one other component, which is like what makes this edition so fancy and nice, is there's a cloth like a cloth, like a tablecloth kind of material thing that's got a Ouija board and like the old like Ouija board mover thing, which is really neat. And like you'd use that to try to guess the letters with the ghost person. So it's very thematic in that sense. And I just think a really neat component that feels like it should have almost been there the whole time. So that is an interesting take on Phantom Inc., but it is just highly suggested as a party game that's a word game as well and a team-based game. So, and what else? I got to play Daydream, which is one that I've been looking forward to trying to play. I only played it the one time, I think, during the event, and it's a roll and write, but they call it a cozy roll and write, but I'd say you get pretty stressed while you play it, because what you're doing, it's almost like a Sudoku-esque kind of roll and write, and you're rolling sets of dice and you have to use those numbers or on each of the dice on your mat. And you can play different lengths of games with different mechanics in each games based on the way that you transform your board. So you can have it just one side, but you can fill it out. And there's a back side, a front side, and 3 different self-contained areas, and depending on how you flip those boards, you'll get a different type of game each time. So it's got a different challenge in each type of game. So the one that I did not win, but it's really interesting and the art is really pretty. The coziest part about the game is probably the art, but otherwise I'd say it's a number roll and write game that's more stressful in the sense that you have to get certain rolls to put them in different areas and then get the different objects for points and stuff. Anyways, It was fun, and I can't wait to play it again. I do have my own copy. So the other ones that I have, there's a Bunny Kingdom Town. There is a 2-player version, so everything's a little smaller, but it's called Bunny Kingdom Town, so similar mechanics. Anyways, that was a lot of different game coverage from what was in the hall. Oh, and one final one that I mentioned this game last month, and I said, it's really annoying that I can't find it in Canada because you have to go to Japan for it. But I think, I can't remember if it was a favorite or a surprise, but the game was called Loop. And it looks like Ilio is making a Loop version under their publishing name. I'm not sure if everything is exactly the same. We only got to see like a little demo card, like a little box. And reading the back of it, it seems like, yeah, it's the same game. So I am very excited for that one. There isn't a solo mode for it, but it was very interesting. If you want to hear more about that game, I featured it in my last month's recap, but very excited with that. That was probably one of my biggest surprises of games that I saw at the event. But yeah, so other than the event hall and different games that I mentioned, I did get some games here. So I do have Dnup that was in our little bag that I really need to learn how to play. I wanted to showcase this one because this specifically I didn't hear about until I went to the Asmodee grand opening in Brampton, I think it was. And this was the game that everyone played around their big table in their game room. It was really fun and memorable, so that's why I picked this one out to showcase. What else was there? We also played Brick Like This, and I thought I would be good at explaining things, but instead I basically give you a thesis every time you ask me to describe how to build some brick card, because in the game you are in pairs, or at least we were in pairs, and one person describes the card and the different Lego pieces that you need to build up to get that exact shape. And the other person has to build it. And then each round, sometimes there are different mitigating factors. So like you need to turn around to each other. So you can't be looking at each other when you're doing the card, or all the top part pips on the Lego pieces have to be downwards instead of upwards, and weird, silly things. And I will also say that some of the funnest games were the ones that I didn't expect to be as chuckly, but we also played that sound game with a large group of our Canadian content creator people. And that one was so fun. It's like a charades, but you're doing sounds, and you have to put your hands cuffed behind your back in order to do the round of guessing. So you're basically making different sounds to get people to name the sound on a card. Each card set has a theme. So there was like a green deck that was nature. There was a red deck that was incidents, and that would be the theme of the sounds that you'd be trying to make people guess. So it was neat. We all got to take a turn, and I think my team lost, but it's all about the joy, right? Other events that happened. So there were main events where there was a Star Wars Unlimited set game. I unfortunately missed it. I did sign up for it, but the time got away from me. And I believe it's their new set, the Twin Suns, I think it's called. And you can now play that game up to 4 people instead of just 2 when you play Star Wars Unlimited. I will also be getting into, there is no solo mode, but we will be talking about that in a future video as well. And then there was a Lorcana event, which I attended. And instead of like battling, so usually it's like cracking packs and building a deck and then battling against another person, they decided to do something a little different. So everyone got a postcard-sized card, and there were 4 different cards that were in that set, and it's the newest set that's coming out. I think it's like an Encanto set, and you had 4 different cards that you're looking to trade with people to get. Once you get those 4 cards and you show the member of the Ravensburger team that you have those 4 cards, you'll get your special snitch card, I think it was. So at a certain point, we all open 2 packs each, and we look through our cards, and then you have to get up and talk to people and find out who you can trade cards with in order to get the cards that you need to get to fulfill your... I want to say fantasy, but that's not what we're talking about. To fulfill your request postcard thing, to get your snitch card. And I mean, I do like the twist on it because, at least for this type of event, I'm sure not everyone was like a big Lorcana tournament person, and it was just fun to have an event that you could participate in something Lorcana. So it didn't really have that... barrier entry of accessibility into doing a Lorcana event, which is nice. But I'm not sure for individuals who might be a little bit more shy to get up and do that, or people that might want to keep certain cards and not give away cards. I don't know how these kinds of organized play events go. I haven't really attended them for my own self before. But typically I find they're probably a little bit more competitive in spirit. But for this event specifically, I had fun. Everyone that I attended with seemed to have fun. And I got to keep Belle, and I think it's Madrigal, and those were the ones that I really wanted to have anyways. I gave away like my pets to, I think Jenna took the pets, but... Anyways, the Lorcana event was fun, and then there was also a speed puzzle event, and I thankfully got Meeple Mike to take my spot. So I got to just relax and watch them make the puzzle. So it was Meeple Mike, Jenna, Ilya, and Tyler that took on the speed puzzle, and I think the person who won did it in almost 45 minutes, but the way that a speed puzzle event happens is everyone has the same puzzle and it's face down on your table. And then when the organizer says to like get ready and go, everyone gets to flip the box and open the puzzle, and everyone goes however they want to go to try to organize the pieces and get the puzzle done as fast as possible. So our team ended up second. Last and it was nice to just see, and being able, I did get a drink at one point just because it was taking like an hour, and did the filming part of it, but enjoyed watching them all freak out as they went to take the puzzle pieces. But they did complete it, and that was really fun and nice to see. And yeah, it was a good little event. There were different seminars and like assembled talks that were interesting, but for the content creators, we went to all the fun stuff. And what else was there? I think other than that, there were just mainly game nights. There was like a little wrestling match that was its own promo for Rowdy partners from Capstone Games. That was neat. There were different demos that went on for different publishers in the big game night hall room, and a library that we got to take a bunch of games to play from. But yeah, it went by way too fast, if anything, and really enjoyed the food and the atmosphere, and just, you know, Canadians getting together for the board game industry was something I hadn't had happen before, where it's strictly just Canadian industry. And it was great to see that they said they kind of almost outgrew their last place and had to do the Hamilton one, and then already next year they'll be going somewhere else, and I think it's their 5th year anniversary for putting on Canada Plays. So I'm really grateful to the industry in general, but just to see Canadians shine in this industry is really nice. But that's my wrap up on Canada Plays. And now for the fun stuff that everyone loves is board game statistics. So I will show my board game statistics for April, but For board games, I got to play 24 different games, and I played, I think, 30 or 31 times with a lot of different people. There is one game that I did play 25 games, but there's one game that I got to prototype play that was really fun, and maybe I'll have it in some video footage here. If I don't, then it's a wait and see. But it's a very fun card game with very simple rules that has a lot of interaction, but I'm looking forward to it. So for my favorite games of the month, I got to play Oh My Goods, Longsdale in Revolt, which is a game that was probably one of my first games that I randomly got and my first Alexander Pfister game. It's just a small card game, but Longsdale in Revolt makes it so that you can play Oh My Goods solo. And I accidentally got this in a large trade. I traded something and somebody was like, do you just want these 30 games? Because I just want to get rid of them. And the only game that stayed of those 30 games in that random bag of games was the Oh My Goods game. And I think I'm on the last chapter of Longsdale in Revolt, and then I'll be on the Canyon one. But basically, it's a multi-use card game, which also was the first game to introduce me to that mechanic. I really like that kind of game. And there's a story that follows through the game where you're trying to satisfy the needs of some of your buildings and have your worker placed on your building. If you get that set of cards that flip into the market plus with the cards in your hand, then you get to put more goods onto that building. And those goods are worth a certain amount of money based on what the card says. And you'll be spending that money to buy more buildings, to get more items, and satisfy a certain requirement to pass that chapter's level. So I think there's 5 chapters in the Longsdale in Revolt, and I think about 5 more in the Canyon one. And there's also a larger board game that's based on the Oh My Goods series. And I have that one too, and I have not finished that either. I just like all the goods. But that's always one that I love going back to, and it's simple and it's nice to go back to. The other games, which were not games that I own, but I was playing Puerto Rico 1897, the special edition that a friend had. And I've heard of it here and there. Given the buzz for controversial themes, I wasn't really jumping to run and chase and try that game. But since my friend had this one and they did do some updates to it, both thematically and then obviously Awaken Realms did it, so it's deluxeified for sure. I really liked playing this game and just the way that the mechanics work. Like, it's an I choose you follow kind of situation where someone will choose an action, they'll get an extra bonus action or a bonus feature for taking that action, but everyone else has to take that action at that time for the round. So it's like, when is the best time for you to take this action that is most efficient for you and least efficient for someone else? Or what are you counting on for someone else to take at some point? So you might want to take something else for now because you know that action will be taken. And yeah, it was really interesting. I do appreciate that the copy that I had the acrylic tokens instead of like looking for huge buildings. Like, I have the special edition Castles of Burgundy one, and the acrylic tiles are nice, but anything more than the acrylic tiles, I feel ends up taking away from the actual playing of the board game itself. And not, whatever the word is for, like, doesn't immerse you in the game. Disimmerse. Unimmerse. There's so many words in this video that are just gonna be so fun. And then another another card game that I was introduced to was called Chasing Shadows. I think Ilya brought this and we got to play it. It was a really interesting card game where getting points is bad. And there's different sets, so like red, blue, whatever. and you'll have to put the number of points you have on cards into your little area, and the person with the least points over 3 rounds wins. But there's different mechanics that come in where, say, if you've got 2 cards of the same suit, then you can flip the higher card, so you only take the lesser card's points at the end of the round. Or if at the end of the game you have won 2 separate rounds of a particular suit color, then you can get rid of the higher one of that suit and have less points at the end of the game. So there's a few different ways that you can mitigate if you were losing very badly in the beginning, which I think I was, but I think I still lost. But it was really fun. On to disappointments, which this one is particularly sad for me because it was one that maybe that's also what factored into it being a disappointment. Was I had been looking forward to finally playing this game for a very long time. I played one of the prototype versions of it before it changed the way that the board is laid out and a few different things. But because the theme is so important and so strong to me, the designer particularly was just, I met them 2 PAX Unplugs ago or so. And then just the team, like I really like what they do, but I don't know, this one didn't click for me or for the group that I was playing. And I felt it should have been easier than one of their earlier titles. Without further ado, the game is Molly House. And Molly House is, the base of it is a roll and move with a type of trick-taking card game that's going on, but it's all thematically based on a historical period where Molly houses were places where people could dress in ways that felt best for them and their identity. And the Molly houses were a place of celebration for this sort of thing. During that time period, legally, you'd have to watch out for the legal system. I think it was the Reformation of Manners is what they were called in the game. And then historically speaking, the rulebook also has some history on each of the individuals on the cards that were like the queens and the jacks, the Mollys of the houses, different informers of the time. And just for me, just as a queer individual, it was a game I really wanted to love for a lot of reasons, but for some reason it didn't click. I think Pax Pamir was easier for me to learn, and even the solo mode was easier to learn than Molly House, which was really surprising because Molly House I thought was the most entry point type of game from Whirligig Games. And maybe I just misinterpreted something. I don't know. I'd have to give it another shot, but it's well enjoyed by a lot of people. It's an important game to be out there. I'm not sure if it's one that is for me, for the game itself, but for the theme and the respectful way in which they went about the theme that applies to the game, I really appreciate it. But as I've said to other individuals, if there's a board game where you're not going to play it, but you're keeping it on your shelf just for representation, sometimes I find that as something hard for me personally, as my own opinion. Because as someone who's a board gamer, you'd want somebody to play your game. So if I can find other people that might enjoy a game that I don't necessarily find I'm bringing out onto the table, I'd rather have it played than have it collecting dust just to say that I can point to my shelf and be like, look, I am well-rounded or something. I don't know. Representation. Representation matters, but it's how it's represented that I think is the thing, and not just doing tokenism for tokenism's sake, right? I am again going on another tangent. So let's finish off this video strong with my surprises. So some of the surprises that I had was I played Forestry at Canada Plays. I did not say that in my recap because it was on my surprises. So I played Forestry for the first time last December, and I liked it, but I didn't know if I loved it. And by this play, I actually took over the seat of someone who was playing before me. They were winning. By the time the game was over, we were losing. Because that is the Natalie effect. But for Forestry, I really liked it. This time, I could have just snapped right into it. And it's just little micro turns and collecting contracts, just little things here and there. And I think the solo mode, I think, is by Thomas Holek, who's done like a whole bunch of games, obviously. But it's also a nice theme, and yeah, I really liked the game. So it was a surprise for me because I didn't expect to grow my likeness of the game after my initial play, but I'd be looking forward to that, and maybe one day trying out the solo mode. Another one was 8 Dragons, which was funny around the table because you're attaching the little dragon head to the little dragon butt and swinging it around the table. But that one was really interesting too. I don't know if I've seen something that's done that before, but your dragons are on a figure 8 kind of track, and depending on where your colored dragon lands, you'll take that action, and then you're pretty much in your own personal space building out different tiles to score different goals, and the person with the most points or money or whatever it is at the end wins. But it was a fun game, and we played a 3-player game of it. I think it took a little while, probably just under 2 hours, but that's with a teach, right, for 3 new people. So that one was a surprise, but I really liked it. That one was from Wonderbow, and there's no solo, but very good game. And then the last one, which is my biggest surprise, and was also at Canada Plays, but I played before it, was Magical Athlete. And this is one that's a surprise because I am really not necessarily a party board game player, but I've been seeing myself come into it more and more. And Magical Athlete came out kind of the same time as Hot Streak, it feels like, but their roll and move. That also why I thought Molly House was going to be a more accessible game when they promoted it as partly roll and move, because all you're doing is rolling dice and moving your little pawn around a thing, right? And then wherever you land, something is determined. So for Magical Athlete, it was like, I think we did a 5-player game and we did 3 races. So we each got to pick 3 different characters, but we get to choose when we play those characters. Each character has a special ability that'll affect the way that the race is. And it was just so funny to see the combinations. There's so many different figures with so many different actions in it. Yeah, I'm looking for that game now because I think it would be such a fun family game. It's so silly, something you don't need to take seriously. And yeah, something that genuinely surprised me because I knew it was like hot poop. But I did not expect to have as much fun and as much laughs, but that's probably because of also the people that I play my games with. So that is it for my April recap. Hopefully this isn't the longest video ever of life. Whenever I make a video, I feel like I'm taking way too long, even though I'm sure I'm talking way too fast. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.